All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. I believe we are live, and in the past week, we encountered a lot of people who never heard the word gematria before. Again, it's a very unfamiliar word. It's a very foreign subject. It's also a very elementary subject. It's something that we really should have learned probably when we were age 7, maybe even younger. But what this video is about is why the topic of gematria is so important. And again, it starts right with that phrase you've heard before: knowledge is power. If you believe in the phrase knowledge is power, which you don't really have to believe in, you can kind of know it. Know is in knowledge, isn't it? But knowledge is power. That is the phrase that pertains to why gematria is important. And when you learn this ancient practice of coding numbers into words, it can really do a lot for you. You have to understand that we're living in a world, and if you don't understand this yet, you will if you start paying attention. But you really do need to understand that we're in a world where certain forces, powerful people who control things like the television and the radios and the papers and the magazines, they are using information to lower our vibration, to scare us, to make us consent to things we shouldn't consent to. And they're achieving these things ritualistically. We'll talk more about that. Also, a lot of people who think they're not caught up in that or above that, they're really into things like sports games. And they're dedicating so much time and energy to watching sports, watching their favorite teams. And when they watch the games, there's a huge emotional investment. There's a huge energy investment. And quite often for sports fans, it ends in, gloom and doom and depression and, a lousy next day. Can't believe the way your team blew the game again. And, for other people, it's politics. They're so caught up in the left-right thing. And they're not seeing the forest for the trees. And again, you learn this simple knowledge of gematria, you see just how wide spread the use of this knowledge is. And again, what gematria is the practice of coding numbers into words. And 100% every single day, all across the world. Again, English is one of the most modern languages in the world. It's the most widespread language in the world today. It's the most taught language worldwide today. Again, English, the language that's been standardized as it has been since the 16th century, the same century we got on the Gregorian calendar, the same century the Jesuits came into existence, the same century we adopted the heliocentric model. Again, that same time period where, the world learned to understand time a different way, the relationship with the sun, moon, and the earth a different way, to learn a new language. All of these things happening at that period of time. And again, what we'll get to is how they are all related and synced up. But gematria, it's this thing that comes from Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah. Again, Kabbalah has a text. It's called the Book of Formation. And on page one, into words and sentences. It's known as gematria in Hebrew. And in Greek, it's known as philosophy. They're the same thing. And in English, it's fair to say that it's known as gematria. And again, the purpose of gematria, well, it has many purposes. It's spiritual, but in layman's terms, it's about bringing words together, the natural relationships, and the same numerical value. It's, again, just to keep it real simple, there are multiple ciphers in Hebrew and Greek, also in English, but they're all very simple. The most simple is known as simple English gematria, and it's just A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, E is 5. We can do the whole alphabetic order, but you just turn the letters into numbers up to Z, the 26 letters, 26. And what's amazing is when you write out English, it has the same value as Gematria, and the same value as Jewish, and the same value as occult. And again, we're just adding up. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. We're adding up the letters in the word English, Gematria, Jewish, occult. They all equal 74. And here in the United States of America, English-speaking nation, where the nation's birthday is 7-4. And realize this nation was established, not long after the 16th century, with a 7-4 birthday. Again, English 74, Gematria 74, occult 74, Jewish 74. The name London, the capital of England, 74. Here in the United States of America, again, Independence Day on 7-4, our holiday. Holiday equals 74. Holiday means holy day. And we have a holy day in this nation. We have several holy days in this nation in tribute to Jesus. And with the same cipher, Jesus is 74. Cross is 74. Messiah is 74. Gospel is 74. Again, the story of Jesus is called the gospel. Jesus spoke in parables. Parables is 74. Parables are riddles. All right, we cut out for a second there, Truth Seeker. All right, I see the chat coming back, so I believe we're back. But I was saying, this English-speaking nation, Gematria, the significance of 74, the predominant religion in America, this English-speaking nation that came into existence after all of these things were essentially invented and standardized and, as we'll get to, put together. But they're all 74. Jesus, cross, Messiah, gospel, parables. Again, Jesus spoke in parables. Parables are riddles. And day after day, our media lays down riddles with this code, kind of laughing at us, thinking that we're never going to get it. And they probably think we're never going to get it because they taught us the things we were supposed to know in our 13 years of school, pledging to the 13 stripes and the 13 colonies, being raised to be tax cattle. We're having a little bit of connectivity issues. But I was saying, every day, riddles with this knowledge are laid down. And, normally I'm on top of things day after day, but I've been traveling for the last week, educating in Oklahoma City, educating in Dallas, and haven't been as on top of the news. But the day that I left for the trip, the big news story was the mass shooting in New York City in the subway on April 12th, 2022. That was the anniversary of the Civil War beginning. And it's not arbitrary that the Civil War began on April 12th, the 102nd day of the year. There's a lot of reasons for it, but one simple one to understand is that the word slavery has a gematria of 102. And that was a crucial component of the Civil War. So, if you think American Civil War, if you think slavery, you likely think of the Underground Railroad. And where was the shooting at on the anniversary of the Civil War? It was an Underground Railroad, wasn't it? A subway, isn't that pretty much what it is? An Underground Railroad? And keep in mind, you got a black mayor, right? New York City hasn't had many black mayors, only the second one in history. So you have this black mayor. And, they said 33 shots fired. And it was exactly 33 weeks after the governor's birthday. Now, so far, we've covered the alphabetic order as our cipher. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z, the 26th letter. The next cipher to really know, and possibly even more important, They're both very important, but possibly even more important is the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. So A still 1, B still 2, C still 3, D still 4. Where it changes is when you get to J. J's the 10th letter, and the reason it changes there is because the numerology at 10 is 1 plus 0 equals 1. So the numerology at 10 is 1, thus J is 1 in this cipher. K, the 11th letter, what do you think it is? 1 plus 1 is 2, so K is 2. L is the 12th letter, so what is L in the numerology cipher? 12 becomes 1 plus 2 is 3. So M, the 13th letter, is obviously 4, right? 1 plus 3 is 4. N, the 14th letter, is 1 plus 4 is 5. By the time you get up to Z, it's the 26th letter. 2 plus 6 is 8. And just something to think about with this cipher, you know when they put XXX on pornographic material, X is the 24th letter, so what is it in numerology? 24 is 2 plus 4 is 6, right? 2 plus 4 is 6, so X is 6, so XXX is 666. But okay, 33. It is the most abused number in mass shootings in the national news. And again, the subway shooting, 33 weeks after the governor became governor. It was also 137 days before her upcoming birthday, which is the 33rd prime number. Prime numbers are numbers that can only be divided by one in themselves. They signify strength. Huge component of this study. Words into numbers and prime number relationships. But with the alphabetic order and rules of numerology, all of these words equal 33. Police, masonry. If you're not familiar with masonry, you know, secret society, modern Freemasonry established in London, divided into 33 neighborhood areas. Modern Freemasonry was established in the banking district of London, June 24th, 1717. When you use numerology, the word mason is 7. The federal capital, D.C., the House of the Temple, is at the address 73, not arbitrarily. On it from Pythagoras. All is number. All is number. And again, very suspicious story. All of the police cameras were out when the shooting happened. The police cameras just happened to be out. Again, police, masonry, secrecy, order, federal, they all equal 33. They all equal 30 gematria. And what's interesting is if you run the alphabetic order in reverse and use numerology, police equals 30 instead of 33. New York equals 33 when you run it in reverse with numerology, so New York has the 33 connection too. And think about it, 33 weeks after the New York governors became the governor, 137 days before her birthday, the 33rd prime. But with regards to police equaling 30, again, when they supposedly caught the shooter, who was a black man, fitting in with the slavery narrative from the Civil War, just like the mayor's a black man, they said they caught him in 30 hours. So police is 33 forwards, 30 in reverse. And I mean, just seriously think about it. Imagine you going into a subway in New York and you open up fire, shoot a bunch of people, shoot off 33 shots. Even though I haven't been in New York, I know it's like other American cities. There's police everywhere. I'm in Seattle. Not right now, I'm driving through Colorado, but when I get to Denver, I'm pretty sure if I posted up in Denver and pulled out my gun and started shooting, just at many different people and took 33 shots, I'm pretty sure that by the time I got done shooting, it'd be very likely that I would have a cop rolling up on me, firing back at me. And anyway, Eric Adams wanted to celebrate, only the 30 hours that it took to catch the assailant, when, I mean, in reality, we know this doesn't make sense. Maybe even the All right, sorry, we're still having some connectivity issues. Funny enough, I'm passing exit 74 right now on Interstate 25, heading north towards Denver. And stream connected. But ultimately, what you need to know is Gematria. It's the alphabetic order, and the alphabetic order with numerology, and the other half of the code is running the alphabetic order in reverse, and the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology. And the one cipher we haven't touched on yet in regards to just the things we're talking about, if you just run the alphabetic order in reverse, the N word is 102. Like the word slavery is 102 forwards. And in the media, you'll see how they use this racial code. The Ahmaud Arbery story. After his killing on February 23rd, 102 days later, which I believe was June 4th, that the headline broke that his killers, the video had emerged of the killing, where on the video you could hear the shooters calling Ahmaud Arbery the N-word. They had to do that 102 days later. Cities like Nashville equal 102. You might recall last year a country singer, popular country singer, was caught on camera in Nashville using the N-word. Not so much in a racist way, but more of like a drunken, joking, funny way, like, you know, just kind of like how black guys throw it around. But he was using the ER ending instead of the A ending, but that happened in Nashville, right? Nashville's a 102 city. Again, you pay attention to this knowledge, you'll just see how these examples stack up over and over and over. So, first black mayor, black shooter, anniversary of the Civil War, this clear ritual in numbers. And again, day after day, you have this knowledge, you see that they're playing games with us. And why do this? Again, it goes back to Kabbalah. Kabbalah says this is how God operates. This is how God made the world. So these people, my contention is that they see themselves as gods, or they want to play God over humanity. And honestly, they probably do feel like God, because they're controlling the screens, they're controlling the minds of the masses and their behaviors and their choices. You know, what they're putting in their mouth, what they're putting in their mind. And I mean, it's truly evil. And if you study Kabbalah, there is an evil half to it. The tree of life is about spiritual ascension. You know, a lot of people think Kabbalah altogether is evil. Again, Kabbalah is a set of knowledge, a set of spiritual knowledge. And within the teaching, there is a spiritual light half, and there's also a dark wicked sorcery type path. And again, sorcery, spells, right? I mean, think about our language. Spell, to cast magic. But that dark half's known as the clip-off. And that's essentially what we're talking about each day. This is the clip-off that they're doing. Creating stories, using the Kabbalah-based knowledge to have an impact on humanity that's not good for them. I mean, think about it. In what way is it good for us to be made afraid needlessly? To be scared by these invented boogeymen, these mass shooters, these terrorists, these suicide bombers, these suicidal hijackers, you know? And again, that's where by having this knowledge, you can just see the way the riddle is laid down day after day. And beyond that, you don't have to just use terms like, they are doing this to us. You don't have to leave this vague they thing anymore. You can now identify who is doing this. Who would encode 74 into the name Jesus, Cross, Messiah, Gospel, Parables? Who would encode the word Pope equaling 52? Again, P's the 16th letter, O's the 15th letter, P's the 16th, E's the 5th, Pope 52. We're on a 52-week calendar named after Pope Gregory. And again, in that same century where English was standardized, where the Gregorian calendar rolled out, again, named after Pope Gregory, where the Jesuits were created, where the heliocentric model was established. All in the same century. Who else would be behind this other than the Jesuits themselves, created at that same historical time? I mean, the historical timelines there, the encoding of the language pretty much shows who did it. And if you're going, well, what about Jewish equaling 74? Again, you got to know the history of the Protestant Reformation, which brought about the Jesuits. Again, Martin Luther wrote the 95 Theses. His target was the Catholic Church and also Judaism. He wasn't a big fan on Judaism. And that did bring the Catholics and the Jews together to share their power and knowledge to counter the Protestant Reformation. So, I mean, it makes sense why, and I mean, that isn't that also the story of Jesus, that he came from the land of Judea? So, I mean, the word Jewish isn't the old ancient word, but it's the word we now use, right? So, Jesus in our current understanding of things is Jewish. Just like Jesus' real name can't be Jesus because there weren't even J's back then. But again, this is the language we now have to understand these stories. And this new language was created to encode things just this way. Shout out to Jeremy White. Jeremy White, he's very busy right now with work. He's a hard-working man. And but when he gets some time, he has acquired a very rare book on gematria. He ponied up $500 out of his own pocket. And it's awesome. He's got this book that reveals a lot of important stuff about gematria. And when he has the time to go through it, he was starting to show me a little bit of it yesterday in Dallas. But when he has the time to go through it, he's going to make all sorts of important finds. And what's cool is in the beginning of the book, it has a resource of all the books that have ever been written that share the knowledge of gematria. And right in that list is Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages, exactly where yours truly learned it from. But okay, with regards to identifying the who, again, it's just so amazing. It's so current, so relevant. And again, like I said, this is a video for people who are new here. What I'm about to say is so redundant. I've said it a million times. I pretty much wrote a book on it. I'm writing a newer book on it again that's much more thorough. But okay, we had a cutout again. But I was getting the point of how you can identify who they are. And again, the Jesuits, important number to them is 201. In their history, they were saved by Catherine the Great during the suppression of the Jesuits. And the story is, in their own historical record, that their order was preserved by Catherine the Great with 201 Jesuit priests. And go figure that the first Jesuit pope, who we have right now, Pope Francis, he's the first pope to live in suite 201 at the Vatican. And then using the language of gematria, his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 201, as does the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola. His name equals 201. And you know, here in the U.S. right now, we have the 46th president. He's the second Catholic president ever. The first was JFK, who was assassinated at age 46. Joe Biden was elected number 46, exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, something we predicted before it happened. Again, there's 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament, which is the Jewish section. Again, that Catholic-Jewish connection. But 46. By the way, the word Catholic, so if you run the alphabetic order forward with numerology, Catholic's 35, like JFK was number 35. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology, Catholic's 46. JFK number 35, killed at age 46, right where Interstate 35 is in Dallas. And Joe Biden elected as number 46 and inaugurated on the Pope's 35th day of his age. Not to mention he won the 59th presidential election, and John F. Kennedy equals 59, just like Pope Francis, just when you use the alphabetic order with rules of numerology, which is your most common cipher. When you learn this study, you'll realize you use that cipher more than any other. Just the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology cipher that comes up by far the most. And don't forget, Benedict stepped down on the 59th day of the year for Pope Francis too. 59th election, again, perfectly synced with him. But coming back to the 201 piece, don't forget that Beau Biden died at age 46. Beau Biden died at 46, 201 days before Pope Francis's birthday. And again, the same Jesuit priest who did the funeral for Beau Biden at age 46 did the inauguration for Joe Biden as number 46. And he was the former president of Georgetown. His name is Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, which equals 201. Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, 201. What day's Inauguration Day? 20/1. On the government website, the official name of Inauguration Day is Inauguration of the President of the United States. When you use that most Pierce cipher with the rules of numerology, it equals 201. Don't forget Central Intelligence Agency, United States of America, with that most Pierce cipher. The words in their logo equals 201. It was established September 18th, 47, 201 days after the Pope's birthday. This number 201 is all over history. The pandemic simulation for coronavirus 1 month before the outbreak was put on by a Jesuit, Klaus Schwab, called Event 201. They put it out on the same day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China. The military World Games are credited to the Jesuits. They began in Italy, where the Jesuits are, in Rome, in 95. The Jesuits' original purpose was to counter the 95 Theses. That's why they were recognized by Rome on September 27th, the day leaving 95 days left in the year. Google, who hates videos like this, who censors content like this, they celebrate their birthday on September 27th. Their current leader, Sundar Pichai, his name is 201. You know, he's the CEO of the company right now, upholding the censorship policies. Notice, not an American, not someone who was born believing in a First Amendment and freedom of speech. Google might be an American company, but they're headed by someone who's not an American. And as someone who lives in Seattle, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of brilliant Indian, Chinese men and women in Seattle helping build a lot of technology that's being used to silence and record and track people such as myself, dissenting voices. And, you know, they have guilt for what they do, some of them, because they know it's wrong, but they do it because they're getting paid a lot of money. And again, they're not Americans, right? They weren't raised on Americans. They weren't raised with, you know, pretty much the most important thing in the world is freedom of speech. So you see how these American companies, you know, how they make it easier to work and whittle away at our rights, and they get non-Americans to do it. And I mean, the other part of that, you guys, is most Americans don't have enough brains up here to do the job that in our 13 years of slave school, they actually dumbed us down. So for all the people out there like my sister who think gematria is bullshit because we didn't learn it in slave school, realize you didn't learn anything you really needed to know in slave school. You know, my sister should know better. I'm her younger brother. Had she taken my advice, you know, from over 20 years ago now and started eating better, she probably wouldn't have gone through, you know, the terrible time of having breast cancer and all that had to come with that, you know. They didn't teach us anything we needed to know. And by the way, since we're talking gematria, the number 4, numerology, is associated with death. Comes from the Far East, Mandarin, Chinese, and Japanese. The number 4 is pronounced the same way as death in Mandarin, Chinese, and Japanese. When you write out cancer with the alphabetic order, it's the same as chemo, it's the same as kill, and they all equal 44. And as we know, you follow the pattern in news: suspicious celebrity deaths, suspicious mass shootings. That number's coded again and again, 44. The last shooter in New York, his name, 44 in gematria. By the way, when you use rule, it's in the most Pierce cipher, his name equaled 44. Just like the word shooting, just like the word execution. The big mass shooting before the subway shooting in New York was in California, right in front of the state capitol in Sacramento. Exactly 44 days after Gavin Newsom gave a speech on gun control. Of course, Gavin Newsom's Jesuit educated. Gave a speech on gun control by the numbers. Understanding the significance of the 4 ciphers. Gun control equals 49 in the most Pierce cipher. Gavin Newsom gave a speech on gun control on the 49th day of the year. On the 49th day of the year, the speech on gun control. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, gun control's 131. Gavin Newsom gave that speech 131 days after his birthday. When you just use the order, gun control's 139. It's the number we see the most actually in gun control rituals. But when they had the shooting in front of the Capitol, they said they locked down 13th through 9th Street. 13th through 9th Street they locked down. And when you run the alphabetic order in reverse with the rules of numerology, gun control's 50. And like I pointed out, okay, we disconnected again. I was talking about how we use the 4-base ciphers, and we covered how gun control has values of 139, 49, 131, and 50. I was making the point about 50. Again, when you study this knowledge, you'll see how connected sports are to news. And I did a video before it even happened. I said, just watch. By the end of tonight, the Warriors will have 50 wins and the Kings will have 50 losses. Again, the shooting was right next to the Kings Stadium. You have this all-California game, and that's exactly what happened. So they came in with the 49. They exit with the 50. They're hitting all the gun control numbers. The Warriors won with 109 points that evening. And shooting has Gematria of 109. Number that shows up in mass shooting rituals a lot. And, you know, since I'm driving through Colorado right now, actually, hold on, before I talk about the Colorado piece, the day of the Brooklyn shooting in the subway, the Brooklyn Nets won their game after that shooting, and there were 223 combined points in the game, and just with the most simple cipher, Brooklyn, New York is 223, and the shooting was 223 days after Eric Adams' birthday. The former police commissioner, now the mayor, who said he's going to make New York tough on crime, and then he celebrated this story as a victory, when I don't know how it can be a victory. It's like, if you're letting people just go in your subway, and your cameras aren't working, and they're getting away with shooting a whole bunch of people, and it takes you 30 hours to find them, I mean, it doesn't sound like tough on crime, it sounds like incompetence. But, again, these stories are never meant to make sense. But I was just going to say, since I'm driving through Colorado right now, Colorado is the 38th state in order of statehood. And in the most pure cipher, Colorado equals 38. And, you know, the people who follow my work and use this knowledge to gamble, and again, you know, most gamblers in this world lose in life in gambling. Gambling's a very difficult thing because the games are rigged. They're meant to manipulate the bettors. But this knowledge gives you a major edge on the rigged outcomes. And while I still haven't figured out futures, and I've taught a lot, and there's a lot of people in this community who now make more from gambling than they do from their day job, and there's a lot of people who've taken what I've taught them and they set up their own Patreon pages, their own platforms. They're teaching the knowledge. They got their own customer base. There's a lot of people who've changed their lives because of this knowledge. But the thing I was going to say is, like, the surest bet in sports, the surest bet, it's just amazing how bad the number 38 gets abused in sports in Colorado. If a team's coming in and they can pick up their 38th win or loss in Colorado, it's amazing how often that happens. Where it can get tricky is like in baseball. If you know the sport of baseball, usually a team plays 3 or 4 games in a row. 3 or 4 nights in a row they play each other. So if a team came into Colorado with 30... All right, we keep getting disrupted, but I was explaining Colorado, the 38th state in order of statehood, 38 Gematria. What's awesome is sometimes, like a baseball series, a team will come into Colorado and they could have 35 wins or 35 losses, and they're playing 3 games, or maybe they're playing 4. But if they're playing 3, it happens a lot where they'll either win those 3 straight or they'll lose those 3 straight, and they'll exit Colorado on the 38. And I mean, it sets up the scenario where you can hit 3 games in a row. Or, you know, it ends up being the final game of the series, and the way it falls is that 38 can get picked up, and you feel very confident that 38's getting picked up, and it does. So again, by having this knowledge, it can give you really great insights to the outcomes of sports games before they happen. There's a lot of very consistent patterns in the world of sports, just numbers that hit again and again and again with teams, and Colorado and 38 is one of the best. And you know, just for a recent example, Russell Wilson, who played for the Seattle Seahawks, who beat the Colorado team the Denver Broncos in the Seahawks' 38th season in Super Bowl 94. By the way, Seattle, Washington 94, Denver 94. Russell Wilson beat the Broncos in the Seahawks' 38th season. He got traded to the Broncos on March 8th, 3-8. Of course, that day can be written 3-8 or 8-3. Colorado does equal 83 with the alphabetic order, equals 38 with the alphabetic order and rules numerology. And hold on, I'm just making sure the speed didn't slow way down here. Hold on. Let this guy pass me real quick. But yeah, just it's just such a blatant example. And I just made the point about Colorado in 83. The word football with just the most simple cipher also equals 83. On the 83rd day of this year, we just saw the Colorado football stadium where the Broncos... All right, I think we're back. I'm having some serious connectivity issues, and I got full bars, so I feel like it's more along the lines of tampering. But I was saying, the year that Peyton Manning rode off into the sunset, you know, in light of the Broncos stadium catching fire on his birthday, it was his 46th birthday. He won Super Bowl 50, which was the 46th of the modern era. And Super Bowl 50 was played on the 38th day of the year, won by Colorado, the 38th state, over the Panthers, which equals 38, who also lost in Super Bowl 38 to the Patriots. And Super Bowl 50 was hosted by the 49ers, named after the Gold Rush. Super Bowl 50 was the golden anniversary of the NFL. And it was fitting that it was played on the 38th day of the year because with the most simple cipher, gold equals 38. So the 38th state wins the golden anniversary on the 38th day of the year when gold equals 38, and the 49ers are named after the Gold Rush. Of course, San Francisco in the most pure cipher also equals 50, like Super Bowl 50. And the number 38, it's just, you know, it's so potent with Colorado and sports. But the thing to understand about Gematria is, like a lot of people, they get hung up on, well, how come a number doesn't just mean one thing? That's not the way Gematria works. It's about pairing words together that have natural relationships and also the same numerical value. So 38, you know, it can pertain to Colorado and rituals with Colorado. And you know what? When you think about Colorado, one of the things you might think of in terms of news stories is mass shootings, because a lot of them happen in this state. And what I'm telling you is that's not arbitrary. In Gematria, with the most simple cipher, death is 38. When you use the alphabetic order and rules numerology, killing is 38. When you run it in reverse with numerology, murder is 38. When you run it in reverse, RIP is also 38. And this number 38 is highly associated with death. You might recall the recent unsuspecting death of Demaryius Thomas, former Bronco. There was a lot of 38 encoded that. You might recall the death of the former NFL wide receiver Vincent Jackson. If I remember correctly, he died on the 38th day of the year. If I'm mistaken about that, it was 38 days from his birthday. Again, just these numbers that show up so often. I forget what it was. Something with Dwayne Haskins, who just passed. Also another 38. He died on the 99th day of the year. Redskins 99. He was the last black quarterback of the Redskins. Of course, the first black quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl played for the Redskins, Doug Williams. And he won with 42 points. And of course, Jackie, the first black baseball player in white major league who wore the number 42. And like we were saying, the N-word's 42, slavery's 42, Jackie's 42, Tuskegee's 42, Huxtable's 42, Cosby Show's 42, Malcolm X's 42, Martin's 42. February's 42, Black History Month. There's a lot more to that list. You know, Motown Records came out in Detroit on the 42nd parallel. These days, Detroit has the rapper 42 Doug. They also have the rapper Royce the 5'9". Motown came out in 59 on the 42nd parallel with the most simple ciphers, slave, Negro, blues, Rasta. They're all 59. 59, 42, numbers that come together so often. That's the thing. You learn this study, you see through so much. The rigged headlines, the rigged games, the rigged elections, the ritualistic murders, the propaganda meant to scare and intimidate you, the racial encoding. And again, it's so obvious that it all goes back to the Catholic Church and Jesuits. Who's more racist than the Catholic Church? They've had 266 popes, yet none of them have been of darker complexion. Not a single black pope, despite, the millions of black Catholics in the world. The reason they code 42 on black history is because of, Matthew 1:1. New Testament equals 42. Math equals 42. It's funny, if you run it in reverse, New Testament is 66, math is 66. New Testament begins with the 42 generations to Jesus, ends with the 66th book of the Bible, Revelation. And 66 is the 11th triangular number, and of course Jesus equals 11, the master number related with the sun. The sun has an 11-year solar cycle. The Catholic Church responsible for the language of the calendar that's based on the sun. They worship on Sunday. Again, this is meant to be an introductory video to why Gematria is important. I'm just going to give you little splashes of what this can do. But again, you pay attention day after day, you'll see how repetitive the patterns are, how often the same things happen, the same numbers come together, and you'll realize we're being laughed at. You watch your news story and they say, coincidentally, the cameras were out. They're laughing at you. You watch the sports game with the latest ridiculous outcome, and the announcer blurts for the millionth time, they couldn't have scripted it any better. Joe Biden takes the podium. You're already laughing. You're already being mocked. Can I live up in the liberal Pacific Northwest? Never seen a Joe Biden bumper sticker or yard sign, which is unheard of. I mean, anytime there's a Democratic candidate, the yard signs and the bumper stickers are everywhere. But not for old Joe. And I told you about how he sacrificed his son by the numbers. I didn't tell you about how he sacrificed his wife and daughter by the numbers right after he became senator-elect in 72. On Limestone Road, and when you're out Limestone Road, it equals 201, where we started with the Jesuit order. Again, limestone's what the pyramids were made out of. The Great Pyramid of Giza, or Great Pyramid of Giza, its official title, equals 201. There's 201 remaining layers of bricks on it. But his wife and daughter die on Limestone Road 201, and they die in 72. Remember, the US dollar bill has the pyramid on it, right? And there's 72 bricks on that pyramid, like Jesuit order equals 72. And I was saying when Beau Biden died, Joe Biden was 72 years old at the time, like how his wife and daughter died in 72. But again, 72 bricks on the pyramid. The pyramid, symbol of the Illuminati, which was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. And remember, he titled it Order of Illuminati, which equals 201. And he would die in history 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. And again, that's why this knowledge, it's connected from everything from politics to news to dollars and cents to sports. And all this stuff comes back to money, right? All of it comes back to money. The news, the programming, the commercials. And again, you learn this simple gematria code, you'll see how encoded it all is, right up to the dollar bill in your pocket. Well, for the time being, until they go totally digital, then you'll have all your big tech Jesuit companies and your Jesuit Federal Reserve and all that. Just wait until everything's electronic. Just wait. That's what. Ultimately, you guys, just to wrap this thing up, because they keep cutting it out. Learn this knowledge. You see who's pulling the shots. You see where they're taking us. You see who's building the surveillance state. Again, all these tech companies got the Jesuit fingerprints all over them. From Tesla, Elon Musk, to Apple, to Google, to the rest of them, Facebook, all of them. Bunch of Jesuit pawns, these faces of these companies. They are fronts You see, you learn the knowledge, you take the time to decode, you follow the people in the community doing the work, myself, you know, the Kayla Decode Talkers, the Chigozi Truths, the Dio the Hacker, I know he's coming back, you know, the Victors. I'm even going to shout out people I'm mad at, you know, Simple Truth TV, you know, some people are better than others. Derek, who made the Gematrinator calculator. Man, this is messed up right here. But, yeah, anyway, they keep cutting this stream out, and we'll just leave it there. But again, thank you to everyone who likes the video, who shares the video. And again, for all you guys who gave super chats earlier, thank you very much. When I get back home, I will go over the super chat list and give everybody their proper thanks and read the comments. So, still got a ways to go. I'm approaching Denver. Denver's close to the midway point of being home, so I think I may need at least one more power nap before I get all the way there. And then I think when I get home, I might just sleep for a whole day. Woo, I haven't hardly gotten any sleep the last week. I mean, if from the day I left to today, I got to be averaging close to, like, I don't know. I would say not even 3 hours of sleep a day, which is well below what I like to get. I like to at least get 7 hours of sleep, so you can hear it. It's part of the reason my voice is off. And anyway, it's been a great trip. Hopefully you appreciate this lesson. Again, if somebody hasn't already done it, if anyone had the screen capture of the live stream we were doing in Oklahoma City that they sabotaged because they couldn't let people see the beauty of that day and what we accomplished. If anybody has that screen capture, if you can please upload it to a platform like BitChute, that'd be awesome. I think honestly, even if you re-upload it on YouTube, it would stay, because there was nothing on there that should have got censored. They just wanted to take it down. Like, I didn't get a strike for that video. They just, you know, they took it down because they didn't want it out there. So, once again, shout out to everybody who came out and supported the movement. Thank you to everyone who wanted to be there but couldn't, and supported in spirit, and, you know, shared it on their social media. And again, looking forward to doing it again. Again, follow all the good people out there. Yeah, right, the Matrix, you know. The man I met on the trip, Fake Mike, M-I-C, Fake Mike, Real News. He never knew about Gematria before this trip. He didn't even know it was a thing. So, again, a lot of people after the last week now know the word Gematria. And if you're new here, hopefully you do too, and hopefully you look into it more. You'd never find that this knowledge was a waste of your time if you looked into it. And hey, watch the live stream we did yesterday in Dallas at Dealey Plaza. You'll hear one of the women who benefited from my prediction of why the grid was going down on Valentine's Day 2021. How to be prepared for the planned power outage they had. And we were able to call that day because of this knowledge. And there were people who benefited. They were ready with the propane, the blankets, the water, the canned food. So, again, this knowledge can even save your life. You know, knowledge is power. If that's your motto, you found the right channel, you found the right information. So, again, thank you to everyone who tuned in. And I'll end it before they start interrupting it again. Until next time, True Seeker.